my YouTube. So he's saying he will just watch it on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to my YouTube live to see whether this one is working now. Looks like it's streaming. Something is happening. Perfect. Okay, honey, streaming is working. Okay, so you're able to see the streaming? Okay. This is crazy what we are doing, but thank you for being a good sport. Okay, so I've started the recording back on Zoom also. So, honey, hopefully you're able to see. Yes, perfect. So it is preferable if you can text here. If you want to text on YouTube also, I'll have to just go and check. So will you just be able to text here, honey? And if it's a hassle to do both, then get out of here and I know you're on YouTube, I'll come and check. Okay. Okay, he'll text on Zoom. Okay, so we are back in business round 2. In fact, it's round 3 today. It's crazy day, but we are not going to give up. So we are on our fourth session. Consuelo, I hope everything is good with you too. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to go do like a refresher since we started and stopped multiple times today. Okay. And do you see my recording going on? Yes, I see a comment. Streaming. Okay, streaming. Good. Okay, all great. Yes. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you being such a great sport. Okay, so, and we are talking about such an exciting topic today. Okay, so here we go. So we're talking about voice. We started looking at Dr. Aikem's framework, which holds good for all UI. And Coinsvilla, since you did miss the beginning, this is our speaker, Steve Bishop, and they've launched Alexa on auto on the Lamborghini cars in CES. And I showed a demo with Volvo, and I will share the URL link so those who missed it can come see it. And the whole idea of voice is it can be standalone or combined with other environment. And there's a whole bunch of design tools, and hopefully, Charles will be able to show you a walkthrough of the design skill he's building. And I'm focusing purely on the design process of how do you create the product experience, how do you create the customer experience end to end in the end. And especially with voice, there is no context. It's not like a touch screen. People can be in different kind of moods. And then the whole shared experience of multiple voices coming together is a challenge. And unique to voice are this whole lack of a screen. And then the other thing is the user could be doing something else and fidgeting around. And then this whole world of conversational AI is this new world of uncertainty of how any question can be asked, or the conversation chat can go in any direction. The whole non-deterministic aspect of it needs to be taken when you're thinking of having a continuous conversation. So today it's easier to design a voice interface where you have an invocation and you talk to it and you ask it one thing and then it's done. And then you call it again and then you do the next thing. Like I was saying, I had done the demo calling for both of my lovely devices here to go get the weather and tell us some jokes. And we're always looking for, it's a good practice in voice to look for user feedback all the time, just to see you've not lost the user, they've not left the room. And then we were at this interesting point, I think, when we stopped the previous round, is you have the power to humanize the AI. And obviously, there is a whole lot of bias going on. You see a lot of different robots being called by male name or female names, and it's random. It's not with any thought to the user who's using it. So the Google Home team has a very different approach compared to Alexa and how they are doing that. And we were talking about how this Alexa skill UI is done, which is kind of an app on top of Alexa. So you can play games, or Domino's has a skill where you can order pizza. Alexa, order a pizza. Alexa, order a pizza.
I have a few skills for that. Domino's can help with that. Do you want to try it?
Yes.
To take advantage of recent security upgrades, you'll need to log in again. To relink your Domino's Pizza profile, you'll need to disable and re-enable the skill in the Alexa app. To continue as a guest, open the Domino's skill in your Alexa app and manage your permissions in the skills settings. You'll need to grant us permission to access the email address you set up with Alexa.
So now I didn't respond. She blinked for a little bit and then she went away because I'm not going to do that. But there's a whole bunch of skills. You get the idea. And then we will see this when Charles is showing you the skill development. Okay. So I'm going to go to this framework of how you design a UI, and it could be visualize the app. We were thinking when we started out with an example, it could be like Sridhar was saying, that voice is listening constantly and telling him, he uses voice to find out when is the next meeting, and he's going to the next meeting and he gets reminders for the next meeting. And he has this conversation with this voice going on. Maybe there's an invocation like Alexa or Google Home, which is listening in an enterprise setting. He has that. And I'm going to take the hospital example where this kid is in bed in the hospital, the parent is away, this voice assistant is listening and is going to text the parents based on the kid needing them, based on how it interprets their voice. So there could be a whole kind of system. But the starting point, and whether you're just building a simple voice assistant or whether it's a complex system, where voice is a component, it doesn't matter. When you're designing for voice, the way to think about is you have to go through 3 steps. First, you need to understand, and some of this will go back, especially for designers like Quenzuelo. You might see this overlaps with general design that you do if you build that for a mobile app or web app. I've tried to call out the ones which is very specific to voice. So understanding the user, understanding what you're building and the flow is the first piece. And usually in normal web or mobile design, you would come up with a user persona. In voice, you have this concept of a user persona and a system persona. Basically, what you're doing is you're going to have 2 entities, right? Because in the web, there is a system. It is listening and talking to you, but it's kind of invisible, right? But here, there is a personality, it is talking to you. So there is a user persona and a system persona, and then you do the user journal mapping. So thought I had another slide to walk you through this example. Yeah. Okay, here I'm here. So the user persona is like you would do with any web system, where you understand the user's behavior, what are their pain points. But specifically for voice, it will be good to know what is their past voice history. So let's take the example of you're talking to a user, the user is talking to the system in the car that we saw, the Volvo example, right? The user is talking and says, prepare my Volvo, things like that, right? So in that case, it is good to know persona of the user. Persona is more like we're hypothetically creating a set of users and say, this person is male, their age is 30 to 40, they are affluent, they live in this kind of neighborhood, they drive this kind of car, they have a busy lifestyle, and they are going to call from a coffee shop, and usually where they invoke the car, preparation of the car is going to happen from a coffee shop. So you're kind of making things up to understand the user behavior, and user research prior to this will help inform this persona. There could be another persona, which is female, who is in her 20s, is out with her friends, and at the end of the, hanging out with friends, and then coming back and wants to start the car, and she drives a Lamborghini. So there could be different kind of user behavior expectation, but you define a persona as a person, and you hypothesize what their behavior and what is their pain point. Why are they using this particular voice UI that you're offering? And why are they not using some other option? But the important thing is, do they have a history with voice? So if they have a history with voice, then maybe they use Siri on the mobile. Maybe they're using some other device. For example, here I'm sitting with a Google Home and Alexa. And when we got Google Home, we had already used Alexa. And so we were savvy, we had a certain expectation. So when they're designing, I'm guessing the Google Home team, when they were designing, they designed for the person to already have Alexa. This example where they said, let me show that back again. Okay, Google, Alexa.
I'm flattered, but that's not me. I'm your Google Assistant.
So it's not just the history. In this case, they're thinking that the same user who's buying the Google Home is going to use it, already has the habit of using Alexa. Maybe they have Alexa at home, or they have the habit of using Alexa, so they call Alexa. And the same with Alexa is preparing for having Google Home. So that is important and unique to voice, because that is like, if you're designing in the web world, if you're designing for a customer who is not comfortable using computers, is the first time they're using mobile apps. In India, I know of people who did not ever use a computer in their life, and they started with mobile phone, and straight away they start using WhatsApp, or they use something which specifically solves a problem for them, and their whole expectation of what the computer can do, what the device can do, is from that first experience. So for voice, it becomes important. And if I have a history that the device is not reliable, it doesn't do this, that, I'm going to bring that baggage with me. And as a persona, it's good to list that and plan for that in your design. The system persona is the device and how it behaves. So one example I saw from the net is, when Luke talks to R2D2, all it does is beeps, but there's a personality for R2D2. And that is one of those, think of this as the user and this as the system. So when we are interacting with Alexa, and she is talking, there is a quirkiness to her interacting with me. And I personally believe that the reason Alexa took off as a home assistant is because people were very forgiving. The way they had skills, it was fun, you play music, and all these skills. Teenagers said, tell a joke. Alexa, tell me a joke.
I once read a book about mazes. I got really lost in it.
So there are things like that. There's a whole bunch of teenagers started using Alexa to just tell jokes and hang around, hover around it. I remember when we got her first, we used to have her in the kitchen table, and anybody comes in will say, try this, and then it would be a social experience around that. So the identity and personality evolves, but you as the designer gets to control it, giving her a name, making her respond and answer in a certain way. And I don't want to kind of go on air in my class to say that, but if I start swearing at her, she'll behave differently and tell me that's not nice, things like that. So those are choices that the designer has made on how they decide the identity of the device. If you think about it, when you talk to Siri, Siri behaves like an abstract AI. and not like a human, whereas Alexa behave like a
Mm.
female. And they've decided that as an identity. So from an enterprise setting, there is a company called UIB. They actually have a bunch of projects in Dubai. Hani, you might want to check them out, or you might be aware of them. So one of the things in the context of this voice thing that I find fascinating in what they did is, I believe it is with I don't think I can give the name of the brand. It's a large brand which makes home and they make washing machines. And so UIB partnered with them. So UIB's was offering is they can interact with any kind of device and allow it to go send a message or text to various different social platforms. So when you interact with the washing machine, you could WhatsApp and say start, stop, do things like that. And where voice comes in is what they decided to do a personality is they decided to add different kind of personality just by the voice. And it would talk in a very formal voice or a very quirky voice. Based on that, it gave a very youngish feel or a very formal feel. And what they figured out is they could actually take the existing unit, which was produced as the same unit, by changing the voice persona. Now they made two different products. So the quirky one was good for talking to millennials and interacting with them, and the stoic formal looking one was good as for a certain demographics which just wanted no nonsense. They just said it has to be reliable, up and running, and I'll pay more money for it. And so they set it at different price points, went after a different target audience just by the designer giving a different personality for the voice. And the voice was still the same. It was not even changing the tone of, it was not even changing the pitch or anything else. It was just in how it will respond back and tell them to behave, things like that. In fact, I remember with the younger target audience, they were more environmentally conscious. So the washing machine would actually tell you, you don't have a full load, do you want to start it? You're going to waste so much water. And that was accepted and appreciated. And that is all design choices that somebody made to give a person to give a system persona, to give an identity to the device. Okay. So I'm going back to the framework. Where was I? Okay. So the first piece is understanding, and then you do the user journey mapping. So now that user, what is their journey in interacting with the device? The second piece is now you're ready to do it. So this is understanding the user, understanding the identity of this design, how you're going to design for the voice, and then you're going to do the user journey mapping, and you're ready. So next piece of the framework is to explore. So you're ready to do it with voice. Now it could, what is called as a simple dialogue is a happy path. So you expected, like I was saying, Alexa, what is the temperature outside?
Right now, it's 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Today, expect a high of 65 degrees.
So you give a simple dialogues of what the people expect to talk to the device, and you program it for that path, right? So then it is going to go fetch this weather and going to say this, and that's it. And there's not much hassle in that path. That's the happy path. And there could be other things, like we were talking about conversational AI, where it could actually have an uncertainty or undeterministic behavior. Then we'll have to plan for that. So you come up with a whole bunch of simple dialogues of what is expected out of the system. It could be a customer service system. It could be the reminder system that Sridhar is expecting it to interact, or it could be the hospital system that's listening to the kid. And so you just say the kid is going to cry, the kid is hungry. It could be an emergency situation that the kid is kind of screaming and calling for mommy. Those, unfortunately, those are happy paths. It sounds like a horrible example with the hospital, but those are happy paths, means that's expected path. You get the results, there is no surprise. Then you plan for the other ones. So you come up with a bunch of those and program for that. and the design, go through that. Then once you have it, now what do? You just don't go and build the whole thing. That's the materialized piece. So the second thing with voice, it's called table reading. So what you do is you actually have two entities, right? You have the user and you have the system. So you actually give the UI of what the voice will be to a person, and then in a from a different team, you watch them interact with the device, talking to it, and see how it did. So that's what I believe the Google Home, they do that. They give it to all their employees and make them go various things, and then you can actually report when something goes wrong, and they adapt, and they did like a beta with their own, it's called dog fooding within the company, to get to this test of whether it will work for all kinds of situations. And so you do that. And the way you do that is you basically say, I've come up with a bunch of dialogues, which are my happy paths. I've thought of some non-deterministic situations on how the AI should behave. And these are the different ways. Now you have the whole journey mapped. Now you give it to somebody in your team, or you bring a sample user who's ready to user test that for you and make them talk to the device. And then you need to simulate what the system response would be. So you're not even programming and making it yet. You're just doing a play here, right? So you can actually be in a remote room, and you can interact to be the device. So instead of the device talking to you, you have the user talking to the device. You could actually be reading off a script of how the device would be responding back, and see whether that was satisfactory for the user or what was their response. And you keep going, like I tried a bunch which was real. So imagine if somebody in Alexa did that and pretended to be me and interacted with Alexa before they shipped her out to the world. So that is called table reading, and you do that specifically for voice. That's a thing in designing the framework with voice. And the third thing is called the Wizard of Oz quiz, the Wizard of Oz test, which is basically, where you actually do that in a different room setting. Hold on for 1 minute. I want to pause and see if there are questions. Okay. Is everything okay, Hani, especially since you're watching this on YouTube? Are you having any questions? I have somebody called Joost who just joined. This is a voice design that I'm talking about, how to design for voice, which is part of the AIX or the AIX design experience. Okay. And this is not my usual weekly Wednesday, and I'm streaming this. I usually don't stream my class. So I have somebody who's came in to watch this from outside. Okay, so I'm going back to my slide deck. Any questions so far? So you get the idea. So you basically write up the simple dialogues and what the happy path would be, and then and do like a role play, and then do that in a blind setting with the user, pretending to be the user, right, and the system, and you do that. And then you go back to actually building that, and you create the flow chart, right? What would be the user flow, which you would do with regular ones. And again, in voice, you need to actually script the voice. Every single sentence that the device is ever going to speak has been written by somebody. I am your father, and if the user says that, this is going to be the response, and that whole thing has been written up. So there's a lot of fun things. And with Alexa, I find that there's somebody with a sense of humor who actually had fun writing these scripts. So that is part of what created her personality and actually created scale. So with that, I want to pause and see if you have any questions. Otherwise, I think I'm almost done, and we've gone for a long, long time, guys. And it's super late for Honey. So hope you got an appreciation of what is designing for voice and your responsibility, and the unique thing for specifically for voice. And I can ask Charles to, show us a skill development of what he's building, and put it out as a demo, or do it live based on time factor. And you'll get to, and then you can see how we applied the framework of what we are talking about. Okay, any more questions? No. I think that's all I was planning for today. So I hope you will be able to use this, especially 2 of you are planning to use voice as your interface. So I hope you will be able to do that, but go back to thinking about what Charles said about the AIX framework, right? You're thinking about the user needs and whether the data, what is there, is it going to support that behavior, and then go to whether that interface makes sense. So I'm sure as you're taking this class and you're saying, okay, is it going to be voice? Is it going to be computer vision or AR or ML? You tend to start from the interface, but ideally you're going to think of a combination or what is going to solve your problem. So when those of you who said you want to work with voice, we're going to do it a little reverse, because we're going to we're going to voice as the interface first and then go to it. But I want you to be aware that in a real situation, you would be mapping the need of the user and the uniqueness of what the data is going to solve for to the interface to get there. And then we go through the framework, and the important thing is you design the persona for the user and the system, and then do your regular journey mapping, and then how you do the testing, and then you do the flow, user flow, and script everything. And then you're golden. Then you have a beautiful system that will talk to you. Okay, so with that, I'm going to wrap up, and I'm going to say whether I can get the devices to give me a happy closure for today. I think Alexa is longer. I can bring it in. Alexa, sing a song.
Shirley Chisholm was elected to the U.S. Congress, first African-American woman to have done this, sat 7 terms in the House of Representatives.
Okay,
in 72,
Alexa,
she ran to be the president.
Stop. Okay, so there it is, a very US context, but for Black History Month. So if you didn't understand the context, it would not make sense why she's singing this song. But I thought that would be a good closing for voice today. Okay, thanks everybody. And I can actually say play music, and maybe she'll do something else. Alexa, play some music.
Here's a playlist you might like: Ed Sheeran and more on Amazon Music.
I found a love for me.
Okay, people, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you.
Darling,
bye.
just dive right in. Follow my lead.